Hey everybody, I'm Ebony. This is Ebony's Creativity. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. Today I have another furniture flip for you. This one is going to be pretty short and sweet and simple. So hopefully you guys will still enjoy that and somebody will be able to take something away from it. Leave me a comment and let me know how you think the flip turned out. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and let's hop right on into the flip. Here's the piece that we're going to be working on today. It is a French Provincial dresser that I got off Facebook Marketplace for free. I really love French Provincial furniture. I think that it cleans up really nicely. It looks great in any color or stripped down. And this one has some issues with the finish. As you can see, it kind of has some freckles, but not too much extreme damage. So that's good. Just a little bit of the paint is chipping off. So I'm going to go ahead and start out by sanding that, and I am using 120 grit sandpaper. As you can see, the sanding revealed some really beautiful wood under this piece, so I was very happy about that. And if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you know that when I find extremely beautiful wood, I do not cover it up if I can avoid it. Now, the drawers were also made from wood. This is a basset piece, so very high quality in terms of the materials that are used. However, because of the fact that I do not have the best sander, and an orbital sander would have knocked back all of those curves on the drawers, I just decided to paint the body. So until I can get a surf prep, I figured this was the next best thing. At this point, I've switched to 220 grit sandpaper, and I am using that to just scuff sand the entire thing and also to smooth out the top that I sanded using the 120 grit previously. So the reason why you do a scuff sand is because you want to kind of take off the original finish and leave a rough texture for your new paints or primer to stick to. Here I'm also scuff sanding the drawer fronts, and as you can see, like I was saying, there's a lot of curves and I just can't get into those with my orbital sander. I would have really loved to see this all stripped down, but I just wasn't able to do that with the tools that I have right now. So I'm just carrying on. I know if you're like me, you love natural wood tones and natural wood, but it's not always possible. I'm limited to what materials that I have to work with. So until we can upgrade, this is what we're going to go ahead and do for now. I've gotten the question before, why don't I use paint strippers? And I really don't like paint strippers, to be honest. This may have been a really great instance to use it because I don't have the sander that will get into all these grooves and the stripper will. But I just find it messy. I just really do not like paint stripper. I will use it if I'm doing like an interior project where I don't want to kick up a lot of dust or something like that, but only in extreme circumstances because I just really don't like dealing with paint strippers. So if you're thinking that, that's why I did not use it. And for whoever asked me that question on a previous video, there's your answer. I find that paint stripper is just kind of a waste of time because you still have to go back and sand after and clean up a mess, and I just don't feel like doing that. This little cutie is my niece, and she has expressed an interest in furniture flipping, so I gave her a couple tasks to help out with on this flip. So right now I have her removing the hardware, and you will see shortly that I am still scuff sanding at this point. As I was scuff sanding, I did notice a piece that was lifting on the top, so I took some of my Gorilla Glue and popped that back into place. And I also noticed a few areas that had minor chips, and since I knew I would be staining this, I didn't want to go crazy with the wood filler because I find that it doesn't stain well. But I did go ahead and patch up just a few little chunks of veneer that came off. After I completed my scuff sanding, I brought the piece inside to give it a thorough wipe down. So that's what you see me doing now, and I am just using Dawn to clean this off and some hot water. Up next, I will be using my Home Right sprayer to spray my Ben Shellac primer. And I don't know why I don't do this more often. Probably because this primer is very sticky and the cleanup from a spray gun is not the greatest. But it really did lay this product down, and I found that I did not need to sand in between or after coats. So it really laid this product down nicely, and I will probably be doing this more often. I kind of moved away from the sprayer and forgot how much I liked it. So I did 2 coats, and this is how that looked when that was complete. While I'm waiting on that primer to dry, I am going to pop inside and start to clean up my hardware. So I'm going to put some vinegar in a bucket, and I'm going to put enough to cover all of my hardware. And I am just going to let that soak for about 20-30 minutes or so. Once those were done soaking, I heated up some hot water and some baking soda, and I had my niece go ahead and scrub the hardware down. We were able to remove a lot of the dirt and gunk with the vinegar and the baking soda, but I did wipe these down with Dawn as a final step to making sure that they are clean, because I want my spray paint to lay nicely, and you always want to make sure whatever you're spray painting is thoroughly cleaned. Then I just hit this with 2 coats of my favorite gold spray paint. Up next, my assistant for the day is helping to clean out the body of this. So I started her out with the yard blower, and then she's going to go back in with some Dawn and wipe everything down thoroughly. After the inside was all clean, we went ahead and sanded down some of that wood filler, and we are using 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm teaching her technique, so I had her do it by hand. After that, we cleaned off the top, and then we masked off the edge of the dresser with our painter's tape. And now we are going in with our Ben primer, and we're also going to do 2 coats on the body portion of this dresser. So I allowed her to do as much as she was comfortable with on the first coat, and then I took over for the rest of the first coat and the second coat. While waiting for that to dry, I decided to go ahead and start to paint the drawer fronts. So I am going to be doing that using my Old Faithful Klingon 045 brush. This is my only high-end brush, and I really love this brush. But I did start flipping furniture with Dollar Tree paintbrushes, and you can go back to some of my earlier videos to see that for yourself. So I did kind of level up to this brush, but you do not need an expensive brush to get started with furniture if you're watching this because you are a beginner and you'd like to get started. My process to paint a drawer front with all of this detail is to kind of push the paint into all the detailed areas first, making sure that there are no areas where the paint is pooling, and then I will just do some straight across horizontal strokes to cover the rest of the drawer front. As I mentioned before, Fusion is not my favorite paint. Wise Out is, but here I am again using Fusion paint. So here's a close-up of my brush, and here is the Fusion paint in the color French Eggshell, and my niece did pick this color, so hopefully it's a good seller. And here is how they looked after 1 coat. And so I finished 2 complete coats and kind of like a skim coat. So I'd say I did 2.5 coats on everything. And here is some footage of me doing my first coat on the body part of this dresser. But I did also do 2.5 coats on this as well. And when I say I did a half or a skim coat, what I mean is that I had mostly water in that coat and just very little paint, just to cover any areas that I felt like needed to be more opaque. After both coats of my paint were dry, I ripped off all of this tape because I'm going to go ahead and stain the top panel. I got this stain in the color Briar Smoke from Home Depot, and it is just a really nice gray toned brown. So I really like the color, and I thought it would really complement the blue color well. I also chose this color because it is a darker color, and my experience with trying to stain over wood filler has not always gone that great. So I wanted to make sure that I had a darker color just to hide any of that wood filler, which I didn't have a lot, but I still want it to look as perfect as possible. So I don't want any areas of wood filler popping out or being noticeable, and I find that the darker the stain, the better it hides those kinds of things. So I'm just rubbing this on with a shop rag, and I'm just trying to stay in the direction of the wood grain. I forgot to use a wood conditioner on this, but luckily it still turned out fine. But if you're going to try to recreate this or work on a piece of your own, make sure you use the wood conditioner first. After allowing my first coat to dry for a little bit, maybe a couple of hours, I did go back in and add a second coat to get a truer and deeper color, and I really love how the final product turned out. Now that my paint is dry, I'm going back in with my sprayer, and I have loaded it up with some polyacrylic, and I'm going to be doing 3 coats of polyacrylic on all the painted portions. Since my stain is oil-based, I'm going to be using this oil-based wipe-on poly to seal it. If you try to use that polyacrylic, you are in danger of having your surface bubble up because, as we know, oil and water do not mix. So make sure that you have the appropriate top coat for whatever finish that you have applied. Here's how that looked once it was complete. And once that was dry, it was time for staging and styling. So you can leave me a comment and let me know how you think this piece turned out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next flip. Bye, guys. If you have the time, please select another one of my videos to watch from the choices on your screen or in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching.